I've been with the Seasteading Institute since about 2011, and now I have a company called Blue Frontiers. Blue Frontiers is going to build seasteads inside sea zones, and we're going to use a cryptocurrency called Varion, which I'm going to tell you about. But by 2021, you could have a floating house in an independent, semi-autonomous community in a beautiful lagoon just like that. And let's see if this will play for me. So there will be a video, hopefully in a second. Push backwards. While he gears up the video, let's see, what should I tell you? Our project was, the Seasteading Institute was started here in Silicon Valley. Who's heard of seasteading before? 1, 2, 3. Once upon a time, I went to the very first Bitcoin conference that was here in San Jose. It was in 2013. It was before we had blockchain conferences. And I would go out and say, who's heard of seasteading? And everybody knew what seasteading was, because what we're trying to do is decentralize the world in the real world, not just in the world of bits. So, do we have sound?
Only about 193 land-based governments and only 180 national currencies. To solve humanity's grand challenges, we need innovative governance as fluid as our world. Blue Frontiers, the first seasteading company, is proud to announce Varion, a token of exchange to increase variation in governance. Blue Frontiers is a team of more than 100 professionals working to build sustainable seasteads that adapt to sea level rise and offer unique governing frameworks. The seastead is the physical platform, the sea zone is the legal platform, and Varion is the way to buy goods and services in the Blue Frontiers ecosystem. If you want to buy or rent space on a seastead, you will do so with Varion. If you want to register your business or become a virtual resident in a Blue Frontiers sea zone, you will do so with Varion. If you hold Varion, you have a stake in the future. We choose Varion because in the floating world of the future, we value variation in governance, freedom of mobility, transparency, inclusiveness, and choice. Finance can be fair, and governance can be trustworthy. Stop arguing, start discovering with Blue Frontiers. Together we will demonstrate how decentralized voluntary societies work, free at sea.
I hope you appreciated our little video, and maybe it says more than I'll say myself. All right, so you get what a seastead is. For us, it's a homestead on the seas. This design was done by our Dutch engineers. For us, we want to make seasteads that are sustainable, that will last out in the sea for hundreds of years. That process their own waste, their own water, their own energy, and they have some kind of autonomy in their way they are governed. The other part of our project is creating a technology that can be resistant to rising seas. So there's 10,000 communities that are going to lose their homes in the coming years, in the coming decades, and there's about $100 trillion of damage that's going to be happening. So we want to create this technology that we can deploy all around the world to people who will need this as an opportunity as a life raft for themselves. For us, a sea zone is a special economic zone at sea, and we will negotiate these sea zones with host nations, and they'll allow us to have some regulatory opportunities that are unique to each sea zone. We've identified 51 countries around the world that would be suitable for hosting sea zones, and we're in varying degrees of contact with each of these countries. We're looking for places that have access to internet, airports, seaports, and supply chains, and some kind of underutilized bay or body of water that's behind a reef break so we're not in the open ocean to deploy our first seasteads. And what the host nation gets from us is they get economic activity, environmental benefits, social and societal benefits, and then we get some kind of autonomy. So the first place we will probably do this is in French Polynesia. That's smack dab in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. They just put in direct flights from San Francisco. You can fly to Tahiti now, overnight, 7 hours for $700 round trip. This is me last year signing the agreement with the government of French Polynesia. Since we started the project, we've put $1 million into Blue Frontiers. Before that, we had 10 years of the nonprofit. We put $2 million in over that time. As the Seasteading Institute, we've done a whole body of work, design, engineering, environmental, legal, economic, business development, and we have a global community of thousands of people that want to come and live on these first seasteads. So we get inquiries every day that people want to be the first people that come and live in these in the seasteads. It's a nascent market, nobody else is in it. Our first project we want to build house about 300 people on about a dozen platforms. It'll cost us about $60 million. That's about $200,000 per person. People think it's cheap, but when you're not paying for land, you can be competitive with places like the Silicon Valley. So it's important to us that we're modular. Each one of these islands can be sailed to another island. That's a whole part of the big decentralization idea. You don't like your neighbor, you sail elsewhere. You don't like your government, you sail elsewhere. And we also will build a base camp on land where we're going to take our first project. So the team that started this was the executive team from the Seasteading Institute. We've got more than 100 professionals working on the project, 19 on staff. Varion, our token, is used for staking your residence. If you want to come live in one of our sea zones, you have to stake Varion. And you can also, will be required for the auctioning off of our goods and services. And when you stake your Varion, you can participate in the governance of the sea zones. So we can create this circular economy by raising enough money now to sell off the very first seasteads and then kickstart the economy after that. We won't have to raise again. That's my team of founders. There's 5 of us. I'm almost out of time, so I'm going to just rush through things here. These are my advisors, our advisors. We have people from blockchain. One of them you might know, Mark Stroker, was one of the founders here at F50. So he's joined our team. And lots of partners. Big money is coming to our group now. We just started our sales, but Arrington, XRP Capital, and Chain Fund have come on board, and we now have opportunity for other investors in our pre-sale. We get lots of media, thousands of media hits just this year, all around the world. These are some of the bigger names. To recap, we are addressing 2 problems. One is a lack of innovation in governance. And by building new societies at sea, we can create new opportunities for people who are seeking these. And second, there's a giant market for people that are going to lose land or rising seas, and we can provide them the life raft. So I hope that you'll learn more about Varion, and I'll take some questions.
All right, thank you. Big round of applause, please. Hollywood does a lot of things. I think you just reinvented waterboard. Thank you. Any questions? Any questions on this modern waterboard?
I see one in the back. We're looking to get Kevin Costner from Waterworld as one of our spokespersons. So if there is somebody out there that has a direct connection, we would appreciate the introduction.
The question I have is around climate change and hurricanes, etc. So how would you be able to manage that with hurricanes?
It's an important question.
Yeah.
So for us, there's 2 things to do. One is to choose locations less likely to have hurricanes, and second is to build for them. So right now we already have, all these oil rigs are out in the Gulf of Mexico, which is totally prone to hurricanes, and they don't take them out during hurricane season, they're built for it. So it's just a matter of designing the islands for the location, and when a big storm comes, you batten down the hatches.
Most of the people who are going to lose their home because of the rising sea level are from third world countries or developing nations. Can they afford one of the Blue Frontier homes?
They probably can't afford the first Blue Frontiers home, but they hopefully can afford the 1,000th. So think of the Tesla model, where first they put out the sports car, and now they're putting out car for middle income people. And I expect us to go on the same path. So we got a few decades to work on that. Hopefully it won't take us that long, but we want to manufacture these islands eventually at a very inexpensive cost.
What about the people who are living inland but would like to have a secondary home somewhere in the island?
The question is, can this be a second home?
Yeah, for the people who live inland, but not have the same rising power.
Well, if I understand the question, I think that there's thousands of people who would like this as a fractional ownership. They would go live in a beautiful place like French Polynesia for part of the year. We'd like to set these up so that there's sea zones all around the world, and that we're offering a service where you could spend 1 week at one sea zone, another week at another sea zone, and you can use our service to just move with the seasons, I suppose. Anybody else have questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the
Thank
time.
you, thank you, thank you. That's wonderful.